Hi everyone, and welcome back to yet another video. In this video, I'll be going over some IPs that deserve another chance to shine and show us what they're true like once again. Some IPs that should really be given another chance with the consumer, or at the very least another look from the general audience, as there are millions of fans out there who would love another outing for one of their beloved shows, games, etc. Now, what do I mean by given a chance to shine? Or be given another chance, or look by the consumers and fans? Well, when I say a chance to shine, I mean that their franchise is still going, or it very much hangs in limbo. And everything is in the balance, and due to a number of factors, like executive meddling in the project, when it should have been left well enough alone, the writers, directors, and all the producers having blown it in some fashion, either by their own fault or because someone else put them under a great deal of pressure to achieve a specific outcome, or an opportunity may have been missed to make money easy, gradual way, just by letting a franchise mature and grow and develop. Not the hard and fast where basically you're constantly chasing a trend and a fast buck. Or might have been a victim of bad circumstances like company politics, or rot in the writer's room, or critical pettiness. When I say a franchise does another chance with the consumer, I mean the franchise has become stagnant within the pop culture landscape, when there are still more stories to be told, more concepts, factions, and characters to explore, despite the main storyline perhaps being done and dusted. Classic case being Star Wars. Perhaps some of these aspects can be explored in a prequel, a spin-off, or even in a sequel. Then I think there are shows but just require a general another look. This is a show or franchise that has done its run, but perhaps it is a good show, perhaps even a hidden gem in some aspect. But like most things of its time, it has been either forgotten about or just never reached a large audience to begin with due to some unforeseen circumstance. Now, the first franchise that should be really given a chance to shine once again is the Overwatch game franchise. Now, I've not really played Overwatch the game myself, but this is a franchise, an IP that has a great deal of untapped potential both for the characters and the universe that they're part of, and the potential stories that could have been built around them, but they considered ever to tell and flush out many of these stories, would have been a boon to Overwatch. It's surprising there has been an Overwatch show or film series been made at some point. I mean, why it wasn't greenlit is completely beyond me, given how popular Overwatch was when it first came out. Because it would have kept people, especially now, it would have kept people talking about it, Overwatch, and could have been the starting point of something much bigger. And perhaps if it came out right about now, something else, it could perhaps heal many of the old rifts in the Overwatch fan community and restore their faith as well. Overwatch was and could be great again. And if it gets the chance to do so, and if the developers are given a chance to make a great game without any real meddling, and if they can do it well enough, and in a roundabout sort of way with a proper story, it could be a great story to boot. Another one that should really get a chance to shine is Rwby. This was an indie production that had the stars align for it for several years, and it was becoming very much a steady cash cow for both Rooster Teeth and Warner Bros. Discovery. Yes, it could have been a real steady money earner. But then events would go awry. Production costs mounted, COVID disrupted everything as it did. In this case, Rwby's production, and then the Warner Brothers higher-up saw Rwby and Rooster Teeth as surplus to requirements, namely they weren't needed in the landscape. So Rwby was sold off, and Rooster Teeth was shut down. This has been a real shame for Rwby, and for its legions of loyal fans, as I stated in a previous video linked above, should you find it, and it'll also be in the description. Rwby still has a lot of potential and can reach a lot more fans, both new and old. And if we can get Volume 10, and if it turns out to be as good as it should be, then Rwby would get a better chance to shine brighter than it's ever done before, and perhaps reach a much larger audience. Well, we've been discussing a game and a show that have already shown what they can do, but have been a victim of circumstance. But how about one that's never reached its full potential? That franchise is one that some of you would not expect, and that is the Miraculous Adventures of Ladybug and Chat Noir. This is a teen superhero genre that has actually a number of very clever ideas and put a unique spin on the superhero genre as a whole. However, it's suffered from a number of both missed opportunities and a stagnant writing. If not bad, best say it's stagnant. And amongst the missed opportunities were a couple of brilliant spin-off ideas based around the guest characters of the Miraculous Ladybug United Heroes film. Especially with a robot, one of the characters called Uncanny Valley, who is essentially a robot created by the not Superman character, and a Robin stand-in who's begun striking out on her own. This would have been a brilliant spin-off, as you've got Uncanny Valley discovering her humanity, and a Robin stand-in growing and developing and trying to figure out how to do things solo. Then the trouble with the show has suffered from some rather strange pacing, and the writing being all over the place, from okay to poor. However, things seem to be improving gradually, but only time will tell. As for a couple of franchises and IPs that have become stagnant, well, and I think need a fresh outing, along with a fresh coat of paint, just to dust it off again and give it another run. The first one I would like to bring up is StarCraft. I've never played StarCraft again, and I probably don't have the patience to play StarCraft or any other RTS game. I've tried it. It would be a disaster. But the StarCraft universe is just so very rich in detail. And if you know where to look, and also the mainline games, there's a lot of stuff done. I would love to see a StarCraft prequel set around about the time of the Guild Wars, which was a key event in StarCraft timeline that set up the power dynamics for the in-universe humans, or perhaps another game that casts the United Directorate as the villain, as they could be a fascinating exploration of fascism, or at the very least a very funny satire of a fascist state, given that they seem to be quite incompetent all the time. And given the fact the universe can actually be easily done with a whole load of game genres beyond the real-time strategy archetype, I mean the fact there was actually a StarCraft first-person shooter game in development at one point that we never saw. The second one I'd like to talk about, and I think could use another run, is Expanse. This is a brilliant show. It feels like an epic space opera, but at the same time it feels like a very intimate and human story as well. Especially when the idea of the proto-molecule is thrown in, and the implications of what it means for humanity, which is still very much divided. And then we have the diversity that humanity has developed as we colonize the solar system, like how the different levels of gravity shape the human body, for example. We have the people living in the asteroid belt, and the stories of how their government, the OPA, was formed, and how the Bellas effectively developed their own language and culture, built around living in space, which in the show is very rich. And then what about the stories that can be created in terms of both games, comics, set within the TV show universe? And then we have the other books in this series that have been adapted. And I mean a really stagnant IP, I think that should really get another chance, is the Digimon franchise. It's been 3 years since the last outing, and now it's become very much stagnant again. And all the fans will still buy Digimon merch. It does not seem to be any new stories in the works, be that a manga, anime, or a game. And that's a real shame, because Digimon wasn't afraid to do what Pokemon couldn't really do, which was tell a self-contained story and play with the ideas that the show is known for, if anything, to keep the audience interested. So another outing would feel a niche in the market. I've been talking around about maybe the next Pokemon game is released, or until something else comes along. And Powell has shown us the fact just what a brand of digital models you can collect and battle with can really do, both in terms of merch and perhaps even to a certain extent storytelling. If anything, just for the player experience. And perhaps there might be other things down the line. I mean, the story of a Powell anime sounds interesting. How about a franchise that has completed its run but now has been lying dormant for a while? And to start things off, I think I have to bring up the excellent Oban Star Races. This is a show that done with the Spirit anime, and I think it tells the intended story near perfectly. And more people should give it a look, given the fact it was broadcast on Jetix in 2006. And once it was done, it was well done. However, the story is engaging, and the characters are interesting and compelling, and the background was actually well realised with tidbits of a larger world. And that is due to the fact the show having a well-laid plan and a killer vision from the outset. Now, the creators of the show are hoping to get Oban Star Races up and running again, in some form. All they have to do now is get investment to do so, which is difficult. And then we have Space Above and Beyond, the original military sci-fi show. If you enjoyed Battlestar Galactica, mostly the Ronald D. Moore version, and even The Expanse, then this is the show that made it all possible. This is the one that started this particular trend of gritty sci-fi. Space Above and Beyond was the start of that trend, before it even was a trend. And the show is very much well worth watching, because of how much is going on in the show, with big space battles to keep the pew-pew laser crowd happy, but we also get action on the ground. And for an American military show, it's surprisingly realistic, including not being limited, showing things like post-traumatic stress, combat fatigue, evil corporation, and a mad bunch of mad sentient robots. And perhaps, ironically, how we might interact with aliens and how they might interact with us. The fact that alien life is not built to the same rules that we have here on Earth. And it also plays with ideas of how we might interact with one another in terms of our cultures and customs when we meet. But at the same time, also showing the fact we're not so different after all. The final one I would like to talk about today is a show I think everyone should watch. And this is one I think is definitely well worth looking at. And that is the Gargoyles cartoon. Yes, a cartoon about gargoyles. Who would have thought of it? This was a cartoon that was made in the mid-90s. And it tells the story of a collection of gargoyles that by day are ordinary statues that come to life at night. They were last awake at the latter part of the 10th century AD. But then they were transported to New York in the late 1990s by an eccentric billionaire, where they woke up again, and now they live among the people of New York City, protecting them from the dangers of New York City. And, well, the cast includes Star Trek veterans Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes as two of the show's recurring villains/anti-heroes, and in the lead role is the legendary Keith David as our lead hero. The man who someone can both be loud and proud and in charge, yet at the same time subtle, sly and clever, all just by adjusting the way his voice and tone. And his voice just fits so many different characters, like the list could go on. And he does it just by adjusting his tone and his cadence just slightly. Yes, the man is a champion at acting, especially voice acting. If you've watched the PBS documentary of the Civil War, World War II, that's the guy who did it. And the way he does it, he's telling a story. And then we have the stories that the show actually self-tells. We have the dangers of an obsessed billionaire and what lengths they might go to get what they want. We have a couple of different ideas or explorations of traditional customs from around the world, including two Native American tribes and their myths, and the dangers of advanced technology, and even the fragility of the human mind and mortality. Just to name a few of the stories that have been told in this show. Yeah, it is brilliant. And there you have it. We have 3 IPs that have some potential, while still being relevant. About to know how could achieve what they really could do with their full potential and reach audience both new and old. About to become a legacy franchise that will be remembered for years to decades to come, and will last for decades as well. 3 that are stagnant, been stagnant for a time, yet they still have stories to tell and could tell if revived and reinvigorated properly, and could really be a breath of fresh air in a crowded market that has just become bloated full of mediocre works that could really use a major shake-up. And some fresh ideas, even if it is just with established IPs. And then we have 3 shows that you would not hurt you to watch. And I think that creators could use both some buzz and some support along the way. But also they are break from the constant stream of new stuff that seems to be getting pumped out all the time. And the petty drama that can sometimes follow a new show go. Just plain on book these days. It's everywhere. Well, I've been the channel, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheerio!